Hello and welcome to PixLab's Tutorial Tuesdays. Today we're going to go over creating your own splash screen in Unity Personal Edition. Now I know this is completely doable in Professional Edition, however it might not be applicable to people using the professional version of Unity. The reason being that the professional version of Unity allows you to create that splash screen just by simply clicking on the image or animation and adding it into your splash. So let's just get started. I'm going to open up Unity here. Right, so I've created a project here. It's called PixLab Tutorials, and we're going to be doing all our tutorials inside of this project, at least for now. So basically what we've got set up here is a scene in Unity. I'm going to show you the finished product really quickly. So if we zoom in here, should be able to see it. There we go. Right, so what we've got here is just a plane with our logo on top of it, a camera, a light, and some code that's basically running the following script. Now I'm going to play this for you guys so you guys can see what we're going to be making today. So as you can see, it fades in, and there we are at level 1 of our game. This level 1 obviously is just a cube in a new Unity 5 level or scene. I've been using this basic concept to create splash screens since Unity 3.5, so I'll just assume that it's pretty much applicable to any version of Unity. Again, you could do this in professional version of Unity if you wanted to create a very custom transition, fading in, sliding in, rotating, whatever it is. This allows you to put the plane in a 3D world, which is quite interesting to do. So, well, let's get started. Let's create a new scene here. So we're going to go File, New Scene. We've got a blank scene right here. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure that our default light, our directional light here, is set to 0, 0 rotation. This will give it a head-on lighting onto our plane once we've created that. Next, we're going to go into our main camera, and if you go to the transform settings, make sure that the y-axis is on 0 as well. Now, I suggest that you remove the procedurally generated skybox from the scene so that we have the effect of a flat animated texture rolling in. However, if you like that, you could leave that there. So I want us to go into the lighting tab here. I've added it to my group here next to the inspector. Another way of getting to the lighting tab would be to simply hit window lighting right down here, and it'll take you there as well. Now under environment lighting, you'll find a setting called skybox, which has the default skybox attached. Now we're going to click there and just select none so that we have the blank color at the back. While we're here, we're going to scroll down here to ambient intensity. We're going to set that down to 0. Basically what this will do is just remove all ambient lighting in the scene. This isn't very useful when we're creating a splash screen because we want it to fade away, and we're going to use the directional light to do that. So if we head over to our main camera again, you can see here in the inspector panel, which is on your right, you can see the background color is set to blue. Now we're going to be setting this to any color that you really want, as long as you're using a transparent background image or splash image. You can use whatever color you want here. However, for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to be using black to start off with. So we're going to pure black, and that's it. Now you see there's no gradient, there's no skybox involved here. Now the next thing would be to create the plane. We got a game object at the top here, 3D object, and we go down to plane. So again, it's game object, 3D object, and plane. So now that we have our plane in the actual scene, I want you to set up the following parameters in the transform settings. We set it all to 0 on the position, and then we're going to set our rotation to 90, 90, and negative 90. This will give you a upward facing plane. I'll show you in a second why that would be important. Firstly, when you apply the texture, which we're about to set up, your texture will be upside down if you don't add the right rotation angles. So we basically I've worked this out before. So 90, 90 and negative 90 gives you a front-facing upward plane that will render your texture the way it's supposed to be. So let's go into, I've created a folder here. You can see I've created a folder called Start. We're going to go into Start, and we create a couple of folders here quickly. We're going to create one that's called Materials. We're going to create another one that is called Textures. And then we're going to create one last folder rather, called Scripts. Apologize for that. Inside Materials, I want you to create a new material. We're going to call this Splash Start. Then you're going to go right ahead and drag it onto your plane. Nothing will have changed because it is the same as the standard shader. It uses a standard shader with the standard settings. What I want you to do immediately is go down to your smoothness settings under Metallic on the new Unity 5 standard shader. This is if you're using Unity 5. If you're not, I believe you're going to have to set your specularity value, if I'm not mistaken, to 0, so that you get a flat diffuse color. You see there will be no more reflections on that plane. We don't want those reflections to be present because, again, we're trying to create the 2D aspect inside of the 3D world. Alright, so now let's go into our textures folder. We're going to right click inside of the folder view here. I'm going to say import new asset. So you select that, and then you're going to navigate to wherever you have stored your splash texture. So in my case, it is inside of a designs folder and PixLabs, and I've got one down here called Watermark 2. Now this is my transparent texture. Now I'll show you in a little bit what the difference is between using the transparent picture and using one with a background color. But first we've got to set up our texture. So now we have our texture. As you can see, it's not quite rendering right. All you have to do to change this is go to your inspector panel once clicking on the texture. Go to texture type, then go down to editor, GUI or GUI, and legacy GUI, and select that. Select your maximum size. In my case it's 1024. I'm going to hit apply there, and then you'll see it renders beautifully. We go back to our material folder, select our splash start, material there, select the albedo texture map on the little dot there, and select our transparent texture there. Now again we have another problem, and that is that our texture is not rendering the way it's supposed to render. Now how do we fix this? Well, if you go down to cutout, immediately that fixes most of your problems. The only thing you have to tweak is your cutoff value. So where do you want it to actually cut off or cut out? We're going to set this as low as possible. As you see, what we've created here is just a basic mask of the black over the white. I must admit my texture is quite messy here. If you were using a better texture, that wouldn't be the case. Your texture would be pretty smooth, I would imagine. I made it this way so that I could put the background on white as well, if I show you that in a second. So if I were to change my background color, the logo will adapt essentially. Alright, now we're pretty much nearing the end right now. Let's go to our folders, and we go into our scripts folder, and now we're going to create a new C# script. We're going to call this splash. Right, now we're going to open this splash script, and this is where it really gets quite interesting. We're going to be doing some C# programming. Now most of the concepts that I'll be discussing here, variables that I'll be declaring, you could declare easily in Java. So if you are a Java programmer, just listen and follow slowly, and I'm sure you can convert it over to Java. However, if you have any problems with it, I will be uploading a Java version of the script to my blog, which I will be adding a link to in the description below. So let's start off with a public integer called level. We're going to set the default value of this level to 1. Now level will be the level to where the splash screen takes you. So after your splash screen has gone through its whole transition, where does the game take you? It goes to level at the index 1. Okay. Next one, we're going to create public float value, and we're going to create one called set time. So we're going to set the default value here to 3 seconds. To give you an idea, that would be 3 seconds. So after 3 seconds, we want it to go to level 1. Now, for the next one, we're going to go and create another float, public float, and we're going to call this dim time. Dim time. We're going to set this to 2 seconds. So 2. Now the reason why, sorry, I just forgot the equals there. So the reason why we are setting it up this way is so that after 2 seconds it will start dimming the lights, essentially fading away our logo or whatever our splash content would be. The next thing we're going to be creating is a public light, and we're going to call this dim light. This will be the light that will be dimmed after 2 seconds. Now we're going to create some private variables. I'm not declaring them as private because there's no need. We're just going to be declaring them straight off the bat. The reason why I use public is to serialize it so that I can edit the values in Unity. However, this is not such a secure programming concept. In Unity, it seems to be alright to use. You could also use a serializable class to access the values and change them in Unity. Anyway, back to the tutorial here. We're going to create a camera, and we're going to call it C. We're not going to declare it. We're going to declare that in the start. Then we're going to create a float and call it timer, and we're not going to declare this either. Now, this timer that I'll be showing you now is a very basic timer. It will count from 0 to an infinite number. Whatever you set your set time to, it will keep counting up towards that time. This timer could also be applied as an in-game timer to time infinitely, or to time for 60 seconds or 120 seconds. It uses time.delta time to add to the timer value. So let's declare firstly our camera. So we're going to go, we've called our camera C. So we're going to call C, we say equals get component camera. Now basically what this will do is it will search for the attached component called camera. Now we're going to be applying the script to our camera, so it will find the camera and call it C. That just gives us a reference variable, makes it easier for us to adjust variables inside of the camera. Next thing that we're going to be doing is say timer equals 0.0 f, and that's it. So we're now initializing our timer to 0. That means that our timer will be running from 0 every time. You could set this higher depending on what you needed. I wouldn't see a reason for it right now. There is one more thing that we need to do, and that is underneath our dim light variable, we're going to create one more public float variable, and we're going to call this a zoom. Let's call it zoom speed there, and we're going to just set this up to 0.2 f, and that'll be the speed at which the camera zooms in. Next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to go ahead and say timer plus equals time dot delta time. Basically what this will do is increase our timer value of 0.0 by time dot delta time, so every second that passes. This will give us a reasonably accurate time value since the scene has started. You can also reset the timer in order to get a fresh time value. Alright, next what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to C. So in other words, we are accessing our camera. We're going to type in field of view, and we're going to say minus equals zoom speed. Zoom speed. The reason why we're using the subtractive versus the additive is because we want to zoom the camera closer to the plane, not further away. And the camera is currently on a negative z axis. So I believe it's a z axis anyway. So essentially, let me show you here in the game view. If I go to my camera here, we are changing the field of view. By taking it less, we are zooming in. By making it more, we are zooming out. so we want to be zooming closer to the logo every time. Alright, so yeah, let's just carry on. Anyway, so we're changing the field of view value there in the negative so that we get closer. Alright, now the next thing we're going to want to do is say if our timer value is less than is greater than, if timer value is greater than the dim time, so the time before it starts dimming, and, so two and signs, the timer is less than the set time for the transition, then we want to access our light. Now we're going to be doing this by accessing our public dim light variable. So we're going to say dim light intensity negative equals, and then here I found that 0.2 f is a decent speed. You could also set this to your zoom speed to make it a bit more smooth. In fact, let's go right ahead and do that. Zoom speed. Now we close that if statement and we open an else if statement. If the timer is greater than the set time, so it's now been longer than 3 seconds, we now want to go to our next level. We're going to say application dot load level. Then we're going to say level, because remember sorry, this autocorrect right here, because if you remember, we've set a public integer to level, which will hold the index value of the level we want to go to. Now that's pretty much it. We've set up a fully functioning splash screen script. Now all that's left to be done is to apply this to our game object. So what I want you to do is just drag splash right into our main camera right here. You'll see it now has it down here. In our inspector panel we can find splash script, which has all our settings that we can then change and tweak afterwards. So let's go right down here. We say dim light, so you have to select the light in the scene, which is just called directional light. And yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this should work. However, we haven't set up our bold settings yet, so let's test it. So you'll see we have the float in and it fades away, and obviously something isn't right. So let's just go right ahead and save our scene quickly, because we haven't done that. So I'm going to just call this splash start. Right, let's just see what's going on here quick. I do apologize for that. So let's just check out our build settings here. If you go File, Build Settings, I have actually not removed my original one. So let's go ahead and let's take that out of there, add my current scene, and just drag it to the top. And let's try that again. Did I do something? Let's see. Right, so yeah, that was definitely the problem. The scene hadn't been added to our build settings. So what you'll see happens there is, now that we have set up everything here, you can see that our logo slowly, well, not in this case slowly, but comes towards the screen, and there we have it, our first level. Alright, now the benefits of using the transparent material or texture is the following. If we go to our main camera in our project view, we can now change this background color to any old color that we really wanted, and hit play again, and that's it. You've got any background color that you want. Yes, the fade is a little bad there, so realistically, to make this work, we would have to also alter our background color of our camera. I'm not going to be covering that in this specific tutorial. For the most part, I'm using this black section because it just works best in my case. Another way to sort of fake it would be to actually use a background color and then scale up your plane and to consume the entire view range of the camera, and yeah, that way you wouldn't see the background change, but again then you lose that ability to change the background anyway. You could also access the opacity level of the actual material to make it smoother. If you're using the black background though, this will work just great. So yeah, let's have a look at that one more time. There we go. So that's what you've done. Now the settings over here in the main camera settings is set time. You can set this up or down as long as dim time comes before set time. And the level index you can change. You could even realistically create a loop that comes back to this. I've set that to 0 now. It should come back to the scene every time. As you can see, so there we go. I know this might not be the most effective way of creating a splash screen, but it definitely has worked for me in the past, and I'm hoping that it'll help you guys. Yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this, yeah, I hope you guys hit subscribe and check out the rest of the channel. And again, PixLab, Tutorial Tuesdays. Hopefully this will become quite a prominent thing, and yeah, let me know what you want to know about, what you want to learn about. I'm thinking of doing the day-night cycle system with Unity 5, of course, which creates beautiful sunsets. And yeah, hopefully, you know, you guys will enjoy that as well. Just let me know what you guys want to learn about, and I'll see what I can do about that. Oh yes, before I go, let me show you the finished scene here. The difference between it. If I go to finished and we go to background color here and I set this, you'll see that it creates a very sharp edge, which really isn't that attractive. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. Let's say there. If you set up your main camera time to, let's make it 5, and we set dimming to 4. If you set these things up right, you can actually make the PixLab tutorial come right through the camera. So let's just go right back here and set up our level again. We're going to set it up to 6 seconds and 5 on the dim time, and now what you should see essentially is the logo should essentially come through the screen. And yeah, there you go. So you can get into some really cool concepts. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave this tutorial. Again, please hit subscribe, like, and share this video if you want, and comment below on whatever you would like to see PixLab Tutorial Tuesdays bring to you. As I said, we are completely open to suggestions, so yeah, hit us up.